What's going on, guys? Today we're looking at the DeWalt DW735 planer, possibly the most extensively reviewed one on YouTube, so why not do one more? As per usual, we'll do a really quick unboxing, perform its minimal assembly, demo what we can, and then run some tests. So let's get to it. As this is the non-X version, inside the box we've only got a manual, dust hose adapter, height adjustment wheel, the tool itself, and assembly consists of screwing on the handle. The included tool is tipped with a T30 Torx, which can be used. I didn't notice this until I already tossed one on the end of a small ratchet. Next, I need to find some way to mount the planer. It weighs 92 pounds and becomes cumbersome pretty quickly. I saw a post a while back on the woodworking subreddit about mounting a planer to a gravity rise miter saw stand, so that's what I'm going to try first. In order to adapt, I need to make a little mounting plate. I grabbed some 3/4 inch ply, 1x4s, and had at it. A little cutting, screwing, and more cutting gave me what I needed. After a quick test fit confirmed we're good to go, I gave it a coat of paint to kind of match everything else. Bolted on the mounting brackets, drilled, and then mounted to the planer. One last heavy lift later, and we're on the stand. I think it's a decent setup. Whenever I'm done and I switch my garage between car mode and shop mode, I can easily store the planer out of the way. The stand claims a maximum tool weight of 100 pounds, so we're kind of pushing it here. Up on the stand, and we can get a good look at the unit. It really comes across as a professional piece of equipment. On the left, we've got the repeat-a-cut depth stop and a cover for some of the drive roller transmission components. Up front is the speed adjustment lever, the removal gauge, the paddle switch that's set up for a rapid turnoff, and the depth ruler. Truth being told, I think they could have done a little better with the depth indicator. The fact that the indicator sits about 3/16 of an inch away from the ruler makes reading it slightly difficult. Installing the dust hose adapter on the back is very simple. There is a spring-loaded pin that, in combination with a twist lock pin, secures it on the back very nicely. And let's be clear about one thing. Unless you're planing outside in a field, you will need some type of chip management system. Just for fun, I'm going to show you the mess 2 very light passes on some 4-inch wide pine will make. Here, we've got a 20-foot wide debris path. It's a total mess, and it's not like the chips just leisurely drop out either. They're launched with quite a bit of force. I wasn't exactly sure how to demonstrate this until I remembered how I sighted in my bug assault with some aluminum foil. Here's the aftermath. About 1 billion little divots caused by high-velocity tiny wood chips. But what if there were a way to control this without a dust collector? Here's what I've come up with. A passive cyclone separator that catches the vast majority of waste and confines the rest to the immediate vicinity of the planer. To cobble together, I've got a cyclone lid from Wood River, a 4-inch flexible elbow from Dust Right, a 4-inch semi-rigid hose from PowerTech, and a 30-gallon trash can from Home Depot. To assemble, the elbow goes on the planer, the hose goes on the elbow, the hose goes on the lid, and the lid sits on the trash can. I really like this hose as it keeps its shape once bent, so it's out of the way of incoming wood. I'll place a link to these components below. It's an associate link that earns the channel a small commission. Use is greatly appreciated. Here's the setup in action. Some chips still escape, but the vast majority are captured in the trash can. I might take it one step further in the future and add a 4-inch dust collection bag. Now with everything arranged the way I like, let's run some test pieces through and take a look at the resulting finish. Starting with a small piece of walnut and some quarter sawn white oak. I think it comes out just great. I'm actually blown away by how nice the finish is. These are still new blades, but still, I'm guessing it's equivalent to 220 grit sandpaper. Speaking of the blades, let's open her up and show you inside. On top of the unit, we've got a little storage action for the included multi-purpose tool. In addition to containing 2 rare earth magnets for picking up the sharp blades, it's also got a T30 bit used to remove the cover bolts. The unit is raised and lowered by a chain and pulley system that feels incredibly secure. It also has a built-in automatic carriage lock. To be honest, this is the main reason I purchased it over the $150 cheaper 12.5-inch DW735, and kind of a little bit for the built-in blower as well. The blades are accessed via the removal of 3 thumb screws and 1 cover. Each is held in place by 8 Torx head screws that can be removed with the included tool. I also really like the fact DeWalt included this parts tray right in the service bay. On the left of the machine, we've got access to the drive roller, pulleys, and chain. This isn't really a wear item, so I doubt you'd regularly get in here, but here's the system in action. Probably not wise to do this with the cover off, but yeah, for science. On the back of the unit, we've got a little access panel that gives one access to change half of the motor's brushes, while the other side can be accessed with the cover removed. Overall, I think this is a really cleverly designed machine, and I'm not at all surprised that DeWalt hasn't changed it in many years. Furthermore, because it's likely the most popular planer made, spare parts, both brand name and generic, are very easy to come by. On the left side of the machine is the hard stop repeat-a-cut wheel. It allows one to preset depths at a number of increments between 1/8 and 1 1/4 inches. To test its accuracy, I'm going to plane this piece down to 1/2 inch and then measure with my caliper. And it looks like we're off by about 1/32, or 0.03 inches. To me, that's not quite good enough. Luckily, we are able to adjust. There is a screw and bolt to do this below the depth wheel. After a little trial and error and a couple more test cuts, I'm now satisfied we're as accurate as I'll ever need to be. I'm also going to use this time to calibrate the depth ruler. Since we know we're hard stopped at 1/2 inch, I can just set the marker to that and call it good. I've read on some forums that anywhere from dead accurate up to about 1/8 of an inch off is reported on this unit. I guess my copy falls within that range. Next, I want to talk about noise. The DW735 makes a lot of it. I've always been pretty good about wearing eye protection, but admittedly could be better when it comes to hearing. Truth being told though, using this planer will have you reaching for the ear protection. To demonstrate, I've got my decibel meter set up. Have a listen. Ouch! That's playing jump rope with 100 decibels. According to the CDC, that's equivalent to an approaching subway train. To give you some frame of reference, here's a couple other common tools you might be familiar with. A drill is about 83 decibels. Here's another. A wet dry vac a few feet further away is about the same. Decibels are logarithmic, so that 15 or 16 decibel difference between these and the planer is massive. Now I want to show you guys some finish quality action. Right here I've got a hardwood cutting board I've glued up. We've got some walnut, maple, and purple heart to deal with. It's also got a bit of a cup to it, so I'm using the old tape and shim trip to get her flat. And I know I'm putting glue through the planer. A lot of hardcore purists will say this is like sacrilege, but you know, it is what it is. And the machine performed flawlessly. Taking no more than about a 32nd of an inch at a time gave us this finish. Despite looking very good overall, it does have one flaw: snipe. According to my dial gauge, we've got about 2 thousandths. This is really quite minimal and does sand out very quickly. Even so, I'd prefer not to have to deal with it, so I went ahead and bought the OEM extension tables. I've seen a few forum posts indicating they eliminate snipe, while others say they didn't do much. The whole reason I didn't get the 735X, the version that includes them, is because they and a set of replacement knives can be had for less than the difference in price between the two planar variants. Installation is very easy. 4 machine screws and 2 springs attach each side. It's a pretty nice system as it allows the tables to be removed just as easily as they're attached. From the factory, they were almost adjusted perfectly. However, I've read various articles that recommended the outfeed table be adjusted to sit just a sliver above the planer table, so that's how I set up mine. You may also notice that I've moved the tool to a new stand. It's the one I originally planned to place the planer on. I chose it over the DeWalt because of the addition of the extension rollers and a convenient shelf. Truth being told, I'm not sure which one is better. Compared to the stand this was on earlier, it is more stable and feels more secure. However, the rigid gravity rise stand is more convenient. Honestly, the idea of my 95-pound, $600 planer being held in place by some friction brackets started getting in my head. Ultimately, I think either is a good choice. Do you want a little more security or a little more convenience? To test out the extension tables, I planed some scrap and took it back over to the dial gauge. Sadly, I didn't really see any improvement, with about 2 thousandths still registering. So in my experience, the tables didn't do much, but who knows, maybe a little more adjustment will yield better results. The last thing I wanted to talk about was power draw. At idle, the DW735 draws about 11.5 amps. When planing some 4-inch wide pine, that number increases to 12.5. Best practice would probably be to run on a dedicated 20 amp circuit. I'm assuming the motor's full 15 amp rating wouldn't be seen unless one were really digging into some hardwood. Overall, I'm really happy with this purchase and wish I had bought it sooner. There aren't many tools I would consider home shop game changers, but this definitely qualifies. It performs a task that just can't be duplicated by anything else. I'm sure anyone interested in this product already has a table saw. So remember back when you first upgraded from a circular saw and thought, holy wow, what have I been missing? That's the feeling getting your first thickness planer will reconjure up. Somewhat unintentionally, this video has turned into a hybrid DW735 and its accessories review. I think it's obvious how much I love the planer itself, but if it were already stretching my budget, here's how I buy it. Start with the planer, and then, assuming no dedicated dust collector is available, definitely buy some chip management fittings. I'd hold off on the extension tables. DeWalt sells the product bare bones and it works just fine without them. The gravity rise or planer stand is what I would call an optional luxury. You could save some money and make your own, but if you're like me and would rather spend your time at making stuff with your planer instead of for your planer, then why not? And that's all I had today. Again, links for most things covered are below. Use is always appreciated. Okay, take care.